Judaism is template for Totalitarian NWO January 14, 2016. Where does the desire to exploit and enslave others originate? The book, Jewish History, Jewish Religion, The Weight of 3,000 Years, by Israel Shahak provides the answer. Judaism is defined by Cabalism, which is Satanism. Humanity has been inducted into a satanic cult, Cabalist Judaism. Some may call it communism, but I call it what it is, Judaism. Rabbi Stephen Weiss. Anti-Communism is Antisemitism. Jewish Voice, July to August 1941. First Jews, and now everyone is being enslaved. I repost key articles like this for those WHO missed or forgot them. Unknown to most Jews and Gentiles, Judaism is not the Old Testament religion people think it is. Every satanic cult has a cover. Like its manifestations, communism, Zionism and Freemasonry, it is based on the Talmud and Cabala, which seek to supplant God and redefine reality. The Cabala reinterprets and contradicts the Old Testament. Only the initiates are privy to this secret. By Makow Ph.D. Slightly revised from Jan 26, 2014. Thanks to Ed Snowden, we learned that the NSA is monitoring our every word. Since most terrorism is state-sponsored, security is a pretext for collecting blackmail material. Where does this drive to spy on and dominate others originate? Israel Shahak's book, Jewish History, Jewish Religion, 1986, provides the answer. From the 2nd century until roughly the 18th, Jews were under the heel of their rabbis and wealthy leaders. They were a closed society. One of the most totalitarian societies in the whole history of mankind. 1415. This is the template behind the NWO, only now everyone is being enslaved. Since the late Roman Empire, Judaism was enforced by physical coercion. Rabbinical courts ordered fines, flogging, imprisonment and even death for Jews breaking any of the hundreds of laws governing every aspect of daily life. Jewish women who cohabited with Gentiles had their noses cut off by rabbis. In religious disputes, those thought to be heretics had their tongues cut out. The rabbis and rich Jews were in alliance with a Gentile aristocracy who enforced this tyranny and shared in the spoils. They were aligned against poor Jews and peasants alike. The rich Jews always flourished in oppressive feudal regimes because, as bureaucrats, bailiffs and tax farmers, they mediated the oppression of the peasants. Closed society. According to Shahak, classical Judaism is inspired by the image of Sparta as it appears in Plato's Laws 942. Judaism adopted the objectives Plato described in the following passage. Shahak, p.13. The principal thing is that no one, man or woman, should ever be without an officer set over him, and that no one should get the mental habit of taking any step, whether in earnest or in jest, on his individual responsibility. In peace as in war, he must always live with his eyes on his superior officer. In a word, we must train the mind to not even consider acting as an individual or know how to do it. Left, Israel Shahak, 1933 to 2001. Shahak says the words rabbi and officer are interchangeable. In communism, the sons of rabbis built a new worldly religion that mirrored the fanaticism and oppression of classical Judaism. After visiting Bolshevik Russia in 1920, Bertrand Russell wrote to Lady Ottoline Morel, Bolshevism is a closed tyrannical bureaucracy, with the spy system more elaborate and terrible than the Tsars, and an aristocracy as insolent and unfeeling, composed of Americanized Jews. No vestige of liberty remains, in thought or speech or action. The Autobiography of Bertrand Russell, paperback ed. 354. Shahak says Israel too is a closed society frankly dedicated to Jewish supremacy and hatred of non-Jews. Jewish culture evinces little honest self-examination lest Judaism's true malevolent character be exposed. Shahak writes, classical Judaism had little interest in describing or explaining itself to its own members. The first book on Jewish history proper, dealing with ancient history, was promptly banned and repressed by the highest rabbinical authorities. As a consequence, 200 years ago, the vast majority of Jews were totally in the dark about Jewish history and Jewry's contemporary state, and they were quite content to remain so. Jewish studies are polemics against an external enemy rather than an internal debate. When a whole society tries to return to totalitarianism, a totalitarian history is written. p. 2022. Similarly, the West is returning to this Jewish model of totalitarianism. Mainstream discourse is tightly controlled. Pundits who stray from the party line are fired or forced to atone. We have become Jews under the yoke of Judaism, that is communism. Illuminati insider Christian Rakowski said the Illuminati bankers created the communist state as a machine of total power unprecedented in history. In the past, due to many factors, there was always room for individual freedom. Do you understand that those who already partially rule over nations and worldly governments have pretensions to absolute domination? Understand that this is the only thing which they have not yet reached. Judaism is concerned with meaningless observances and legalities rather than morality or faith. The Talmud regulates every aspect of Jewish life, both individual and social. With sanctions and punishments provided for every conceivable infringement of the rules. Shahak, P. 40. Far from being monotheistic, the Old Testament implies the existence of many gods, and the Jewish Kabbalah includes many prayers and duties designed to propitiate Satan. Other reasons for saying the Kabbalah is satanic are found here. Communism is devoted to concentrating all wealth and power in the hands of the central banking cartel, the Rothschilds and their allies, by disguising it as state power. The central banking cartel is the ultimate monopoly. It has an almost global monopoly over government credit. Its goal is to translate this into a monopoly over everything, political, cultural, economic and spiritual. One world government equals Rothschild monopoly equals communism. Conclusion. Unknown to most Jews and Gentiles, Judaism is not the Old Testament religion people think it is. Every satanic cult has a cover. Like its manifestations, communism, Zionism and Freemasonry, it is based on the Talmud and Cabala, which seek to supplant God and redefine reality. The Cabala reinterprets and contradicts the Old Testament. Only the initiates are privy to this secret. As banker Atil Khan put it, the Jewish leadership plot to become God and remake the world. We shall purify the idea of God by identifying it with the nation of Israel, which has become its own Messiah. The advent of it will be facilitated by the final triumph of Israel. The New World Order is about inducting humanity into Kabbalah Judaism, which is Satanism disguised as secularism. Here are 10 examples of this satanic possession. A satanic cult is the template governing change. It is the explanation for the invasion of privacy by the NSA, and the creation of a false reality which includes staged massacres aimed at disarming the people. Organized Jewry is a Trojan horse for this agenda, but thanks to Freemasonry, most other governments, religions and organizations have also been subverted. Anti-Semitism is a red herring designed to deflect blame from the Illuminati bankers and high-ranking Freemason onto innocent Jews. Most everyone today is duped, manipulated and compromised. For most of their history, Jews were held in mental and physical bondage by Judaism. The NWO is a recrudescence of this satanic tyranny not only for Jews but for humanity as a whole. In Shahak's words, Israel and Zionism are a throwback to the role of classical Judaism, writ large on a global scale. The road to genuine revolution in Judaism to making it humane, allowing Jews to understand their own past, thereby re-educating themselves out of its tyranny, lies through an unrelenting critique of the Jewish religion. p. 74. Note. Otto Kahn's sentiment that rich Jews have become their own Messiah is echoed in a famous letter from Baruch Levy to Karl Marx quoted in Revue de Paris, June 1, 1928. It also shows how socialism and especially communism were just devices to usurp power and property. The Jewish people taken collectively will be its own Messiah. His reign over the universe will be obtained by the unification of the human races and through the elimination of frontiers. a universal republic will come into being in which the sons of Israel will become the directing element. We know how to dominate the masses. The governments of all nations will gradually fall, through victory of the proletariat, into the hands of Judah. All private property will become the possession of the princes of Israel. They will own the wealth of all lands. Thus will be realized the promise of the Talmud that when the time of the Messiah comes, the Jews will hold on to their keys, the property of all the peoples of the world. See, Communism, a ruse for Illuminati Jewish theft and murder. HenryMakow.com web link.